The more I try to live the faith, the less I like who I am. I think I had a better self-image pre-Christian. You know, I was. Now, I'm not talking me, but I'm using the generic sense of I. I was a lot more content then. I didn't worry about some of these things that I worry about. I liked me better.
Because you're not living the faith, sir, is the reality. If you feel that once you became a Christian, you liked yourself less than when you did before, it's because you're not living the true faith. You're trying to live a bunch of rules instead of living as a beloved child of the Father.
I'm falling short of those rules.
Well, again, you're always going to fall short. You know that. You know, again, the day you got baptized, what happened? The sky opened up and God the Father said, "You are my beloved son," or "You're my beloved daughter, with whom I am well pleased." And what happens is, so that should be where we are. God the Father looks at all of us when we go to pray every day and says, "You are my child and I'm pleased with you." And then what do? We focus on ourselves and say, "Well, you can't be pleased with me because I sinned, or I had a bad thought, or I did this," and we start giving him all the reasons. And God looks at us and says, "Why every time when you come into my presence do you look at yourself and your sinfulness instead of me and my love?" And so what prayer then becomes is just you going before God and telling him how bad you are, and we think that God just loves that.
Isn't that wonderful that
what
humility this guy has.
But humility begins there. It says, "God, I'm not worthy of you." But then it doesn't end there, because when I humble myself before him, then he picks me up. And he says, "I know. You're my beloved, and I love you very much."
I read, I think it was in your book, Be a Man.
Yeah.
Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less.
Absolutely. And isn't that amazing that, again, when someone like my spiritual director used to tell me, "Oh, Larry, if you ever became humble, you'd put a big thing on your head that says, I'm humble." You know, I was like, "Thank you.
I'm very proud of my humility.
Very, very proud of my humility." But again, when we come into God's presence, it's always a presence of love. God is love. And once we start thinking about that, see, that's why I stop sinning, because I don't want to hurt someone that loves me. I don't stop sinning because I don't want to go to hell. Because again, if the only reason you stop sinning is so you don't go to hell, well, then who do you love?
Yeah,
Yourself.
I'm looking out for me.
Exactly. It becomes an act of selfishness. So our worship of God, instead of being concerned about him and loving him, I'm only really concerned about me so I can go to heaven and different things. So somewhere in our life, we got to make that conversion. That this isn't about me, it's about Jesus and what he did for me. And it's about me being madly in love with him. And it's allowing me to focus on God in my daily life instead of focusing on me.
Psychology says, I am a good person and I am valuable because I said so.
Exactly.
And
God says that we are bad people, that we're not perfect people, and we are good because we're loved by the God of the universe. And we're good because, remember, when Jesus died for us, he not only set us free from our sin, but he transformed us. We are transformed sons and daughters of the Father, which makes us good, created in God's image.
Human reasoning would say, I can't say that I'm a sinner and then still like myself. God reasoning would say, you are a sinner, but you need to like yourself because I love you infinitely.
Absolutely.
You like the way I put that?
And
there's no teleprompter
that was
out there either.
Profound. Wasn't it profound? For Dr. Ray. So the reality is that exactly that you and I, we look at the Father and he transforms us. He sends his Son to die for us. What more could God do to prove he loves us? He's done everything. He has nothing left. And if he would do everything to prove his love for us, then one of the greatest ways we love him is to accept that love.